Hey guys, how's it going, and thanks for coming. Hope you enjoyed the holidays. I just got back from out of town, so I gotta bring a video for you guys this week. So on the way back in, I started thinking, I thought it was very interesting because I've been through a bunch of different jobs and we really weren't able to talk about money, but more specifically salaries. So in this video, we're going over 10 reasons why we can't talk about salaries at work. So everyone at work just works, they keep their mouth shut, and we really don't talk about money, more specifically salaries, and there must be some reasons behind that. It's just kind of weird and awkward if something like that comes up. Now there are some exceptions, some people are very open with that stuff, but it is definitely one of those things that it's frowned upon if you do talk about it. So why? So number one reason why you can't talk about salaries is it could definitely cause problems. It could be unfair. So let's say one example, if someone else, you're doing the same exact job, someone else does a worse job than you, but gets paid more than you. You probably want to slap that person real hard because they're getting paid more for doing a worse job. Then that would cause wage problems for the employer, so they would have to, I don't know, at that point, they would have to give someone a raise. They're probably not going to demote anyone for that. I mean, unless you're really bad. But then it just causes issues within the workplace, and that's probably one of the main reasons why they definitely don't want to talk about it. So as we continue, these are kind of my opinions as I learned. These might not be set specific ways in the written law, but we could definitely see that these could be possible. So the second way is that it could almost un-incentivize the next step. So if if you get a promotion for, let's say, a manager or assistant manager, whatever the next step is, and you know what they make, it actually might not be as much as you think, and that might not incentivize you to work harder toward that next step. Or which could lead to number 3, if it's more than you're expecting, you could then get mad at your boss or higher executives. If they're getting a ridiculous amount of money when they're not doing much, you will probably despise them and the company as a whole. So the morale could completely be shot. You really don't want to work for that company at that point, so you just lose all respect. And it could really collapse the whole workplace, so they definitely wouldn't want that to happen. Now, of course, depending on the job, if it is public, you could search for certain people's salaries. Like I know for large public company CEOs, you could probably find their salaries. As well as maybe schools, you could find teachers' salaries. Getting a little bit deeper with number 4 could be a little bit manipulative, but essentially is keeping us trapped of just being a worker, trading our time for money and just only thinking about that, nothing else. So if you're just focusing on your work and you're not talking about your salary whatsoever, you're just getting your paycheck, and you're just stuck in that rut, living paycheck to paycheck. Now, they're probably not intentionally doing this, but I would say that unintentionally happens almost, which would then snowball into number 5, which it just simply keeps us from thinking. If we're just focusing on our work and nothing else, you have to understand there is a value to everything. Time is very valuable, so if you're trading your time for this salary, is it worth it? And if you're not thinking of more things, like maybe how to do something more efficiently, which would make you more valuable, or if you're thinking of larger things, possibly larger than the job you're in now, that would definitely not be, it's frowned upon if you have bigger goals than your job, because chances are your employer wants to keep you as long as you're doing your job. When you start thinking bigger goals, bigger accomplishments, leaving your job behind, which they don't want. So number 6 is kind of the idea going along with the not thinking part, but when you're starting to think, you're getting ideas of your own, how you could possibly do something. Maybe start your own thing and have more entrepreneurial thoughts. I know I was in a couple of situations where I brought a couple things up, and they looked at you like, I'm not so, like, when you start having your own thoughts, ideas, and you want to create something of your own, that almost seems like you're not focusing on your job. And whether employers like it or not, I'm going to say it, is that you should always put yourself over a job, because a job is just a job. Like, you're going to stay there for a limited time. After that, whether you stay there, it doesn't matter how long, it could be until retirement, but after retirement there's something more, which would be your life. So if you're putting your job in front of you, that's actually not a good thing. Then this could evolve into even bigger problems, which would be number 7. If you start thinking more, other people start thinking more. And if you have a group of people, that could eventually lead into a revolt. And then that completely collapses the company. I mean, it depends on the size. You know, if you're thinking of like a huge public company and you do something else, it's probably not going to hurt them much. But if it's a small company, that could definitely hurt them, especially if there's a group of people that decide, that's it, I had it, let's start something of our own. I want to stem this from talking about salaries, because you start talking about money in general. It's like, oh, I'm making this much, you're making this much. How could we possibly make more? And that would then entail those larger, bigger picture ideas. Now, number 8 reason why they might not want you to talk about salaries is because they're trying to make a profit. They don't necessarily want to give out a bunch of raises to everyone, especially ones that don't deserve it, and just have everyone on an equal level. If they're trying to make profits, sorry, but they probably don't want to prop up your salary too much, or else they're not making money. You know, we live in a capitalist society. I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. But especially for public companies, they put their shareholders first. So profits are a priority. So as we're talking more and more and more about how much we're basically getting paid, we could go into bonuses and raises. And some companies might actually promote bonuses, especially for the holidays, like right now, over raises. There might be some capped salaries. So mathematically speaking, they might not give you a raise, but they'll give you a bonus. So you'll be content for that year. But then the next year, same situation. They might not give you a raise, but they'll give you a bonus. That's because that's cheaper over the long term. Each raise, you get paid more, then next year you get paid more, then you get paid more. With a bonus, you get paid this much, and you get your bonus. Next year, you're back to your normal salary and a bonus. So it's actually, you're getting less money if you're getting bonuses. And the 10th thing that I just have to throw out there, it might not be the reason why we can't talk about salaries, but it definitely is an issue that I think a lot of people don't even realize. And that's that inflation almost keeps us working for the same amount of money for years. If you look at your salary for like past decades, after inflation, you're actually getting paid basically the same. So for example, I think the average raise might be like 2 to 3% per year. Well, guess what? Inflation goes up 2 to 3% per year. Could be even quicker than that. Other things outside of your work go up in pricing. Cars, houses, colleges, everything out there, food, increases. So when you get a cost of living increase, you're actually not getting paid any more. So when you're talking to people that have been there for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, they are probably living exactly the same as when they started. This is simplistically talking. I mean, like, if you stay there for a long time, you get raises and promotions and manager positions and executive positions. Yes, you could get a lot more money. However, your way of living might actually be very, very similar, because you might be making more, but then you end up spending more, and you end up with zero no matter what you make. So at the end of the day, guys, I feel like that's, whether you want to talk about that stuff or not at work, I mean, probably you shouldn't, but it just keeps you in a box. You end up being a worker, trading your time for money your entire life. And if you wish to do that, by all means, like, you can actually enjoy a job. Most people do not, but there are certain ways that you can. You might enjoy what you do. However, when you start engaging in this talk, this basically just grows into other areas that definitely wouldn't lean to the good side for your employers. So they just want to keep that on the down low. No one really likes to talk about that, not only at work, but in general, in society. Money is like, people don't like talking about it too much. I feel like it's definitely more of a topic in society now. It's more open, but it's still kind of weird and touchy in most circumstances. So that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to do this video, because we're kind of suppressed on this topic when we should be a little bit more open. So thank you so much for watching, guys. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. What do you think? Why do you think that we should keep our mouths shut and be content? Because I don't like thinking that way. So again, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Hopefully you enjoyed your holidays.